I will call to order the transportation.
Is Zay in there or something?
Money.
Material?
Can you guys hear me? We take a roll call, please.
Here.
Hart,
Here.
Healy,
Here.
Noonan,
Here.
Halsey,
Here.
Day.
Here. All right, we have a quorum. We have no public comment. I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 7th, 2020.
So moved.
Second. Motion is second. Any changes, alterations, or corrections? Will we have a roll call vote on this?
Day.
Aye.
Eckhoff,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Healy,
Aye.
Noonan,
Aye.
Aye. Aye, that passes. Next, we have consent. I would ask the motion to combine and approve agenda items 5A and B.
So moved.
Consent agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. Those two are combined. Any questions? A roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Aye.
Noonan,
Aye.
Halsey,
Aye.
Day,
Aye.
Eckhoff,
Aye.
Hart,
All right, those passed. Now, moving on to procurement requisitions, may I have a motion to approve a contract to Patson Inc., CBA Trans Chicago Truck Group for repair and replacement parts.
So moved.
Motion and a second. Are there any questions? May we have a roll call vote, please?
Day,
Aye.
Eckhoff,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye.
Healy,
Aye.
Noonan,
Aye.
Halsey,
Aye. All right, that passes. Next is 6B, which is DTP 19520, contract at Triangle Fabrication and Body for
Second.
repair and replacement parts. I have a motion and a second. Are there any questions? We have a roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Aye.
Noonan,
Aye.
Halsey,
Aye.
Day,
Aye.
Eckhoff,
Aye.
Hart,
Aye. All right, those passed. Next is item 7, amending resolutions. I'm going to ask for a motion to combine 7A through E, which are all amendments to various resolutions.
You mean F?
F, I'm sorry. Yes.
Move to combine and approve.
All right, we have a second on that. Any questions on any of those 7 of those items? Maybe we have a roll call vote, please.
Healy,
Aye.
Noonan,
Aye.
Halsey,
Aye.
Day,
Aye.
Eckhoff,
Aye.
Aye. All right, those passed. Thank you. Now we're under agenda item 8, which is the fiscal year 21 budget presentation. Chris, take it away.
All right, so we'll pop it up on the screen. Presentation, so thank you all. We move this. So this will be our 2021 budget presentation. So you have for those of you here, have it in front of you. We also did send Friday, if you recall, a rolled up budget of our total budget, as well as just our operating budget for your information as well. So today, the focus, we're going to spend quite a bit of time on revenue and the impact of both Rebuild Illinois that passed last year, but also how COVID has affected both our fund resources, but also more importantly, our operating budget. We'll talk about our capital program in more detail. That's engineering construction projects, 5-year outlook overview, and then we have a separate budget from all this, and that's Century Hill Lighting District that we'll talk about at the very, very end. So real briefly, 3 sources of revenue: local gas tax, 4 cents per gallon we levy for the purchase of fuel within DuPage County, motor fuel tax, that's the state motor fuel tax that we get a portion of, and impact fees. Those are our 3 primary sources of revenue. We also do get reimbursements, various federal state grants. Those are competitive, so they're not as predictable. We are eligible to receive money under the infrastructure fund through the RTA tax. As many people, this whole committee knows, we have not received any disbursements from that fund since 2014. Next. So Rebuild Illinois, just to kind of recap, did a couple of things. Number one, it increased the motor fuel tax from 19 cents to 38 cents, so essentially it doubled. But even though it doubled, it changed the formula for the second 19 cents. So they actually created 2 funds, the old motor fuel tax fund and some called the Transportation Renewal Fund. That second fund, MFT distributed 55 local, 45 state. The new 19 cents is actually distributed 40% local, 60% state. So even though the funds doubled, our share would only go up by about 68%. It is indexed, So those of you paying at the pump since July 1, you are no longer paying 38 cents, but you're paying 38.7 cents based on the CPI. On the local gas side, it did set the minimum of 4 cents, which is what we levy. It also increased the number of communities or counties that can enact a gas tax by passage of the county board. And it also increased it to up to 8 cents per gallon, again, if the county board were to pass it. It too is indexed. The third component of Rebuild Illinois is a bonding component. So essentially there's $1.5 billion that the state will bond and grant that money to local agencies. DuPage County's share of that will be about 36 million, just under 36 million, or 11.8 million each year for 3 years. It does have limited project eligibility though. Next. So real quick, you have this at your desk as well. This is a comparison of MFT prior to Rebuild Illinois and MFT since the passage. And so that's the first two columns. The third column is that Transportation Renewal Fund, which we can't compare against because it's the first year. And in the far right, we have a variance. So on the MFT side statewide, there's wide variability between 1 month this year and the same month the prior year. But what I really want to focus on is the green area. So this is after the stay-at-home order was imposed. And you can see that April, May, June, similar to what we're probably experiencing with other taxes, we're down 20 to 40% in our motor fuel tax distributions. When we developed our budget for this coming year for 21, talking to our state partners at IDOT, CMAP, we assumed based on these trends, again, it's only 3 months, it's not exactly a trend, we assumed a 20% reduction in motor fuel tax receipts the balance of this year and all of next year. Next. Same comparison for local gas. The variability is much tighter. The driving patterns of folks in DuPage County tend to be more consistent, month over month, year over year, so less variability. But again, you can see the trends for April and May. Local gas is 2 months in arrears, so we only have, again, 2.2 data points, but it matches motor fuel tax very similarly, 20 to 40, actually more than 40% reduction in receipts. So again, similar to motor fuel tax, when we developed the budget, we looked at the balance of this year and all of 2021 as a 20% reduction in projected revenue receipts. Next. So summary of our revenue, both the approved budget from 2020 and what we estimate this year, and then a projected 21. So I'll talk about the first two columns initially. So for the balance of this year for local gas, what we're estimating is about a 5.5 million reduction. A large part of that is the 20% reduction for the balance of the year in projected receipts. We've also seen slight reductions in other fees, permit fees, overweight, overdimension, and just the selling of gas to our other departments and community partners is obviously down as less, there's been less driving. Contrary to that, on the motor fuel tax side, we've seen a bump. And the main reason for that is at the time we did our budget in 2020, it was not known how the bond program would roll out under Rebuild Illinois. So we assumed 0 for 2020. Obviously, we've gotten two, not obviously, but we have gotten 2 disbursements, our 11.8 million. So that's why the significant bump, coupled with a 20% reduction. Impact fees, we're actually doing quite good in spite of COVID. We actually got, we think we're going to be around $1 million this year, and then reimbursements you can see there. In terms of projected for 21, again, local gas, we're assuming a 20% reduction in receipts for the allotments. On the motor fuel tax side, we got 2 favorable bumps. Not only do we have the bond, the 11.8 in 21, that's the second of 3 years, but our biggest debt service of $9 million a year will be paid off on January 1. So beginning from that point, that $9 million a year that used to go to the bank is now going to come back to us. And so coupled with that is also a 20% reduction in projected receipts on motor fuel tax overall. Next. So our operating expenses. So our operating budget is exclusively funded through local gas. We get no general revenue funds, and so our local gas basically covers our personnel, commodities, contractual items. And so this is our historic expenses. You can see our sweet spot is roughly around 16 million a year. We get some variability due to weather, Mother Nature. So it's overtime, salt, and fuel in the winter. In 2018, we actually had a combination of higher salt prices, and we had a robust capital equipment purchase. Next. So this is a summary of our operating expenses comparing FY20 to 21. So this is the details that we sent on Friday, our operating budget. So on the personnel side, we're pretty close, 3%, higher. That does reflect the COLA increase that was in effect last December, and then the corresponding increases in insurance and benefits, et cetera. On the commodity side, we're down 4%. Mostly that is more favorable salt prices this past bid, and also the hope and the expectation, the hope is that fuel prices will hopefully remain low like they are today. On the contractual side, that's a big drop. The biggest thing is we used to budget a contingency, so we have money. So if it's not a favorable winter or something, we have zero contingency in contractual this year. And on the capital non-roadway, this is equipment purchases. We'll talk more about this in detail. That's a significant reduction of the FY21 number of the 1.5 million. 1.1 million is actually carryover from this year. Things we've ordered that we won't take delivery until next year. So if that 1.1 was not in there, our variance, just our operating budget, would be closer to 16% below last year. Right now, we're 10% because of that carryover. But essentially, we budget to our revenue in local gas, and when there's a 20% reduction, we can only do so much. Next. So our core operating, core operating budget. So there's our fund balance. That's local gas, MFT, impact fees, plus what's on deposit at US Bank. So that's 41 million and change. The revenue we project from the previous slide is 55 million. Take out our operations, so that's the 17 million. That's our operating budget. Maintenance contracts we'll talk about. Those are the contracts to just maintain our system. The debt service payment of 10 million, that's 9 million for our 20-year, but also 1 million for replenishment of last year we transferred grounds to facilities. So by doing that, we agreed with finance to there's a certain debt service that general fund covers for DOT from a 2010 bond issue. And so we agreed to pick up an equivalent amount of that. So that's why that's 10 million and not 9. Carryover, these are engineering contracts, construction contracts that we're obligated to follow through into next year. So the available capital, 48 million change. So high level, where are we at with the budget after all this, Chris? Next. So the budget is 63.3 million, about 3% more than last year. Again, we're a very capital intensive department. Our operating budget is 17.7 million. Again, that's 10% below last year. You throw in the carryover of equipment, we'd really be closer we take it out, we'd be 16%. On the capital side, that's the biggest lion's share of our budget, 72% and roughly 46 million. Next. Here's our maintenance contracts. You're familiar with all these. It's what it takes to keep our system operational. It's our resurfacing program, traffic signal maintenance, pavement marking, etc. These are very typical numbers. Next. Our capital program. This is the meat of our capital program. It covers engineering, land acquisition, construction projects, and participation agreements. So things that other people do for us that we pay our fair share. So I won't go into all these. This will be a summary of the next couple pages. Next. I won't go into all these. You have them, or at your if you want to call with any questions. Real briefly, bolded are new starts. So these are things we will be taking forward to county board in the next year. And then bolded italics is not only a new start, but it's grant funded dependent. A couple of things I do want to highlight across the street. Our garage and fueling station do need to be replaced or significantly upgraded. So we will be initiating architectural engineering for those improvements, the 140 building and our fueling station. The other big one is Fabian Parkway, congestion relief and safety. That's one that member Zay and others have had meetings with. And so we'll begin preliminary and or design engineering for that project. Next. Again, these are a list of projects. Bold is new starts. A couple highlights on this one, Naperville Road, south of I-88. We'll take care of that little bottleneck there at Deal and where it splits off at Ridgeland. The other item is York Road in District 1. The tollway is doing 390, 490. They're going to be impacting York Road with their improvements. Makes absolute sense for us to get in there, completely reconstructed, and not be there again for a very long time. As Western Access develops and evolves, we don't want to be in anybody's way. Next. The construction side, these are the projects that will be under construction next year. 31st Street, I won't talk about all of them, but I will highlight a couple. 31st Street in Oak Brook. This will take care of Route 83 and the Jory intersection, and then resurface. County campus, those of you that come onto the campus and don't turn into the garage, but stay on that North Ring Road, know it's in pretty bad shape. So that will be a reconstruct next year. Crest Road in the West Chicago area, heavily used by trucks. Not only does the roadway need resurfacing, but the shoulders are non-existent and the lanes are narrowing. So that'll be a pretty good upgrade. And then the other projects are listed. Next, so this is our capital equipment request. 2 plows. 400,000. Normally, we ask for 4, and because that's our desired replacement cycle. Each one, we get about 10 years out of because of the conditions they work under. This year, based on the local gas tax and the projected shortfall, we're only recommending 2 and no other equipment. In comparison to last year or this current year, we budgeted $2 million. So where we've had to make cuts, we're going to stretch our mowers, stretch our trailers, stretch our pavers for a little bit longer. The other thing we've had to do to make room for these plows, we've actually had to move the purchase of salt and move it under motor fuel tax, MFT. We've never funded under MFT, but we're allowed to. We're not allowed to buy equipment using MFT. So we had to make room for at least a couple plows. Okay, high level 5-year next, 21-25 program. High level 311 million, 22 million more than the last 5-year plan, the 20 through 24. Obviously, the MFT Rebuild Illinois contributes to that ability to increase it. But then again, we projected a 20% decrease in 21, a 10% decrease in 22, again, all COVID related. And then the out years, a 0% impact for COVID. We're hopeful, we're optimistic. Again, that's the 5-year. This is the actual project for 21. It's a pretty robust capital program, 46 million. And then 23, 24, you can see where they're at. 23, 24 is where we really hope to hit the ground with our York Road reconstruction, Fabian reconstruction, and our work across the street with our maintenance facility. So that's why there's a ramp up in those years. Next. The other budget we're responsible for is the Century Hill Lighting District, service area actually. We got rid of the lighting district. We absorbed them under the ACT initiative in 2016. So we have an electrical maintenance contractor. This whole lighting district is 70, 80 light poles. Made sense to absorb them into us more efficiently. We can do it. So they've got, so basically their budget is electricity and routine maintenance. They do need to replace all their poles eventually. But again, we need to build up a reserve to cover that. It won't be cheap, the 70 or 80 poles. So we'll look to do capital improvements in the Century Hill area as we get enough revenue and we have logical improvements. Thank you. Any questions?
Right. Nice presentation, Chris. We've met the 10% cut we were supposed to according to what the chairman requested, so that's not an issue.
That's correct. On the operating side, yes. So capital is always going to be, I look capital differently, but from the operating side, yes, we're at 10% plus.
Okay. Does any member have any questions regarding the presentation or anything in the budget specifically? I guess that's a no, thank you. And all this is online and every member's been sent this, correct?
Yes, everybody got the budget. I will email everybody also the hard copy of the presentation. I apologize for those that are remote. I didn't get that to you.
All right, now, if that's ought to do with the presentation, we'll go to item 9. Any report from the state's attorney? Do we have anything under old business, Chris?
No, sir.
How about anything under new business?
No, sir.
And without objection, we stand adjourned. Take care, guys.